podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to Humans of Speedway. If this is your first time, well, you're very welcome. And in this podcast, we generally just chat about Speedway with some of the figures from Speedway from both sides of the fence, not necessarily riders, but also other officials, team managers and anyone else associated with the sport of note, really. But we are speaking with a rider this time, someone who's ridden for over 20 clubs across British Speedway through his long career, and he's still going in 2023.
He's doing a great job for Coventry in the elite as well, under a bit of pressure here from Josh Orty late on, but Adam Roynon wins a race, and there's plenty of Heathens fans in the crowd that are delighted with that.
Adam Roynon, our guest on Humans of Speedway, a hugely popular and a hugely talented rider who's come back from some huge setbacks through the course of his career to continue riding even in 2023, where he's going to be lining up with the Poole Pirates, another of the big names of the sport. Through the course of his career, he won the Premier League title, which is now known as the Championship title, with the Rye House Rockets. He's also been the Conference Riders Champion and won the Premier League Pairs with the Workington Comets, and has his eye on more silverware in 2023 as well. Adam's also made the move into the Speedway commentary box recently as part of the BSN commentary team, and has been alongside me reporting on some of the big moments in the Championship Speedway season at the back end of 2022. And I'm looking forward to hearing about his dream Speedway meeting as well. Who'd be in his all-time 1 to 7? We'll find out soon. First though, welcome Adam Roynon.
How you doing? You all right? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, let's hope it's a good one. I'm good, thanks, and nice to speak to you. And let's start this at the end of last year, really, because you had a good season, I think, on the whole, in 2022, and you were getting back to the form that we know you're capable of, I think. And you started with Redcar. It didn't work out there. You ended up at Scunthorpe, but I remember you saying to me that you needed more meetings. You needed more track time, to get yourself back to where you know you can be. And it felt at the end of the season you were getting that momentum, and then maybe it sort of all wrapped up at the point where you were starting to feel like you're getting somewhere. Would that be fair to say, and a fair assessment of how it went for you last year?
Yeah, I felt like most people towards the end of the season were kind of happy for the season to be nearly over and they can go and have a rest, where it was actually only my second full season without injury in the sport. So I didn't want the season to end. I didn't want any of it to finish. I didn't want October to end. I just wanted to carry on. But the winter's upon us, and I felt like I had a good year. You're always learning in Speedway, whether you're at the back or you're winning races, you're always learning. You've always got to take something from it. So I felt it was a good year, and it set myself up really well for 2023, which is just another good stepping stone for me.
Let's talk about 2023 then, because people might know by now, or maybe they won't, but in 2023 you will be lining up for the reigning League and Cup champions. You're joining the Poole Pirates. You had some choices to make, though. You had a lot of offers from around Speedway, and so there was a decision to be made for you, but I guess the Poole Pirates name stood out for you, and you're also racing in the National League as well. So tell us about your thought process when it comes to your teams for 2023.
The Championship was my main priority, and I felt like I've gone to had a dream move in going to Poole Pirates. Which they've won the league for 2 years in a row. You're going to the champions. You're going to a professional club that are ambitious, and having not won a league trophy since 2007 with Rye House, it feels like that's just another thing that can add to my CV of time in the sport. If we win something, but it's always a chance with a club that are aiming high.
The Poole Pirates name is a big one in Speedway, isn't it? People all over the world know the name of the Poole Pirates, a big club name in Speedway. It's one that you've never ridden for in your career before, so I know that when you had the offer, for you it was maybe too good opportunity to turn down. You know, these offers don't come along every day. But you have spent time around the club, so you do know a lot of the people around there, because you were Danny King's mechanic in the 2021 season, title-winning season, of course. So you know how to set a bike up for Wimborne Road, that's for sure and undoubted. But you know when you turn up at Poole that the facilities are going to be good. You've got great staff there, you've got great support, you've got great management, professional operation and all the rest of it. So that must set you up, knowing that you're going out as a Poole Pirate. It must give you an extra boost of confidence from the whole infrastructure, but also the history of the club as well.
Yeah, it's there's no sort of negatives with this club. It's just it's positives all the way through. Like you say, the track, everything from the changing rooms to the pit setup, everything just works well, and that's why they obviously achieve what they do. And every rider that goes to the club wants to do the best. And once you put the Poole race jacket on, I imagine it's a different feeling. It was the same feeling for me when I put the Coventry race jacket on. So I imagine it's just you go into another legendary club of the sport, and yeah, I'm aiming to do great things there and really pick up from where I left off last year.
And you're going to be racking up the miles, because we can also say that you will be representing the Edinburgh Monarchs Academy in the National Development League as well, which is going to be exciting. And quite a different track perhaps from Poole, a bit tighter around Armadale. How do you go around there?
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's not one of my favourites, but you've got to ride everywhere, and I'm hoping that as I'm going to be doing more laps around there with the Devils, then that'll help me for going there in the championship, because the track, it's the same shape, whether it's got different material on it to create different grip and racing lines, that'll be remain to be seen. But it's just getting more laps at a track that I don't always like, but can go good there. So it's just getting confidence really, and that's what the National League's all about. And if I can give back to the other members of the team, and so I help them progress in the sport as well, then I'm more than happy to do that.
And the other thing from last season, of course, many people will have maybe heard you speak for the first time when you joined the commentary team with us at BSN, and you know your insight. And I think people will learn this now through this podcast, I hope, because you're going to say some great things, I'm sure. But your knowledge of Speedway really came through. You know, I think it's easy sometimes for riders to stand there and sort of just say what they're seeing, but you offered a real insight into why riders do things, why tracks are maybe like that, even, you know, a rider that's withdrawn with an injury, and, you know, I remember somebody having an injury and you were like, oh, that's going to hurt, there's no way he's going to be able to continue with that. You know, you've got a lot of experience of both the setups of the bikes, of the tracks, and of course riding the bike as well. So you offered this extra sort of level of insight, and you know you're so knowledgeable on Speedway. You know the sport inside out, and you know that I think that's what really came across. People really understood what was going on more. Yeah,
I've had a long time to study it. I've known about it since I was able to think. So Speedway's been my whole life. I've watched it through the late 80s and 90s, and then coming into it to race myself in the early 2000s. I've just been around it a very, very long time. I've seen the good, the bad, the high, the lows, and it's just a great sport to be involved in, and I'm very, very fortunate and honoured to be a part of it, and still be able to race the bike and travel the country and do something that I love.
No, it's been a great insight, and you know many people have enjoyed hearing you on BSN too, and it's been great working alongside you. Let's talk about your journey into Speedway though, because often my first question is, you know, how did Speedway find its way into your family? But for you, it's an interesting one, because your dad was a rider. Dad was Chris Roynon, and he rode for Plymouth and Barrow and Workington in his career through like the late 60s and through the 70s to the early 80s. But you come along in the mid 80s, so you wouldn't have seen him riding, but obviously Speedway's in your family. How did you get introduced to Speedway in that respect then? So your dad was still sort of hanging around tracks, I imagine, was he?
How did from all I can remember, is obviously just going to Speedway to different venues, going to Coventry to the Golden Greats meetings that they had there, where all the ex-world champions and great riders would all come and take part. And I remember them sort of meetings that he'd always take me to, and we'd go to the odd Grand Prix as a kid, and to the odd league meeting, watching Cradley Heath when they raced at Stoke, and things like that. I've just been around Speedway such a long time. My dad would even take me for journeys out in the car for days out, just to visit the old sites of Speedway tracks where they used to be. And I was just like, right, okay. So we just used to turn up at like a rubble yard where it just been knocked down and never replaced. And it's like, the Speedway used to be. And I'd be like, right, okay, brilliant. And now we'll be on to the next one. So I've literally been to every Speedway venue that the country's ever had. But it was on the flip side, it was great to be involved in a sport where you had the background knowledge of what was in order for you. Like, so you could always ask my dad a question and he'd always have an answer or be able to get to an answer for me. So I learned a lot off him, and just being able to get rides places because of the people that he knew, and things where a lot of riders struggle if they don't know the personnel or the management or the officials to ask and say, oh, look, can I get a ride? I was always lucky that they say, oh, we're at the curfew, but they'd say, oh yeah, go on, Adam, you have one more ride. And I was very fortunate. That was obviously down to me old man's involvement within the sport. And yeah, it's always difficult, I imagine, to come into a sport, any sport, that you don't have the knowledge, like mechanical knowledge, that you need, like Speedway. And he had all that. Like I never once touched a bike until I had to, because he would always do everything for me. So yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing, but it helped me to just concentrate on racing, which was ideal for me. And yeah, I've got a lot to thank him for to be where I am now.
That's half the battle with Speedway, though, isn't it? It's not an easy sport to get into. You have to know somebody involved in it, really, to, you know, in whatever form, to sort of introduce you. It's not a sport you just go down to a shop and buy a bike and away you go, like, say, maybe motocross, is it?
No, that's it. And there's so many different, like, to people don't realise that when you race Speedway, you might race for 4 or 5 minutes a night, because I know you're out on the track for longer with the 2 minutes you have to get to the start line and things, but you're actually racing for around 4 or 5 minutes, depending on your place in the team and how many rides you get. But after the minutes of racing have taken place, you go back, and I would average, for a proper stripped down bike wash and put back together ready for the next meeting, is a minimum of 6 hours. And people don't appreciate that the riding for such a short space of time that you are really doing, the maintenance and the upkeep of the bikes is such a long time, because you don't want anything going wrong in the time that you are racing. So I remember Jason Crumpy asked me a couple of years ago. He asked me what probably was one of the first things he's ever said to me in my life, but he realised I was working for Danny King, and he said, Adam, how long does it take you to clean a bike? And I said, as long as it takes. And he said, good answer. So I must have passed this sort of questionnaire thing. So yeah, it's just the bikes take so long to prepare, and if you don't have the knowledge of how to do it, you can quickly become unstuck or stuck at meetings. And yeah, it's going to be hard unless someone there is knowledgeable and willing to help you. Then you can quickly get lost in it all, really. But it is a hard sport. It's an easy sport once you know it, but to get to know all these little bits and pieces, it is very hard. But yeah, you never stop learning. Like Greg Hancock always said, he still learned every meeting that he took part in, and he was able to race to a great old age. So yeah, it's a fantastic sport. It's got so many different elements to it that that's what makes it so different to everything else.
So when you were a young lad then, and you've been taking around these derelict sites of where Speedway tracks used to be, were you like so many, kids, race jacket on, flicking out the back end of the BMX or whatever? Is that how you originally started? And who was your idol when you were younger, when you were that age, before you kind of properly got involved? What was your your background there?
My main idol was Gary Havelock. I wanted the dreadlocks. I wanted everything. I wanted the whole works because I was only 4-year-old when he was world champion, and he was just the one to look at that time, and then forever more on then it was him that I looked at. But yeah, I had a patioed, it's kind of relatively big back garden. We had a patioed area, and I used to throw sand down on it and then just pedal my bike around in a circle and do a skid, but without the back brake on and stuff. And then it must have done over 1 million laps of just going left in my back garden easily in my time, from a BMX bike to a monkey bike to a pit bike to a scooter to anything. Just go left. That's all I know, really.
That makes me feel quite old, actually. You were 4 when Javi won the world title. I remember going to, because I used to go to Bradford a lot, and I remember, that season Javi won it, and him coming back and having that presentation where he was like taken round on this big trike around Odsall, and I found out he won it by phoning the Bradford club call.
No way.
With the 0898 number, because we didn't have Eurosport.
No,
I remember phoning up, and it might even have been Nigel Pearson.
Teletext, was it not on Teletext?
Yeah, it might have been on Teletext, but I think the Teletext was slow updating, so we splashed out and phoned the 0898 number. Nice. It's like, we need to find out what's happened, and it was like somebody was on the phone like going, Gary Havelock has won the World Speedway title, and that's how I found out on the phone.
Oh, that is amazing. God, how life's progressed from that. That is amazing. So moving on, like my history of being in Speedway. So I've gone from looking at Gary Havelock as an idol, as a hero, to then racing against him for Rye House when he was riding for Redcar in his early days of when he went to the Premier League. Then I joined him at Redcar as a teammate, and then got to ride 3 and 4 with him and get the odd 5-1. So that was like an amazing thing for me. Then he has his injury and things, and I go to Coventry, and then he becomes team manager at Coventry. So I build up a better friendship with him there, and then from that I've actually become like really good friends with him, and the whole circle of how it goes round, how you have an idol and then you can meet him, and he said don't meet your idols, but for anyone to meet someone like Gary Havelock, who is an idol, it's sensational, and I'm very, very privileged and honoured to have done so. And
now heading back to Poole and working with him again, probably.
Working with him again, yeah. So, anything he says to me, I'll do. So if he says, right, from gate 4, just make a ripper, get it to the curb, and look for your teammate coming around the outside. Anything like that, I'm like, yes, boss, not a problem.
Good stuff. So, you were doing a few, what you have to do, really. Was there a youth system as such then, or was it just really getting the time you can in the after the meetings and whatever?
Yeah, it's just kind of getting the after the meeting things. We actually parked the family caravan down on Somerset Speedway's car park. We knew the owner, Bill Hancock, and he let us park the caravan on there, and I would spend the whole of the school summer holidays with my dad in the caravan, travelling around to St Austell, to Reading, to Swindon, to any track that would allow second halves or practices, and just do that for the whole of the 5-6 weeks that I could. So I should have been maybe studying or reading a book, but the book was a Speedway Star, so that's all I really read and looked at. So that's where my knowledge of Speedway comes from. I should have read horrible history or something, but it said it was Speedway Star and then what averages all the riders were on at that time. So so that was there's no youth system, not as good as what it is today. The youth have got it really good nowadays, and Neil Vatcher and the people behind that they're doing a great job with the boys, and hopefully get it to somewhere a bit like what Poland has it, and just a continuous conveyor belt of youngsters coming through to back up the big ones at the top.
Yeah, it is a different world, but you then obviously start to get some rides, and I think was it really? Did you get a ride at Coventry? Was that one of your first ones? And there was a few, wasn't there? Coventry, maybe Kings Lynn.
Yeah, it's funny because Coventry, I was only 15 when I rode there, but I rode there for Bellevue Colts. They were just a challenge match or something, and we used to speak to like Colin Pratt and Peter Oakes that were there at the time, and it would never allow someone as young as me to have a ride after the meeting. They didn't want to do anything. So I went there and I had 4 second places from number 3, and then I won heat 15. And then as soon as I came back in the pits, Pratty wanted to sign me then as a Coventry asset. It, like all the bits of you can't ride here. It was quickly changed, and we want to do everything for you. So that was it was nice, and I was kind of like one of the first youngsters that kind of got the contract offers from the big clubs of that sort of era of that time, where I signed for £500 for Coventry as a full-time contract, and I heard that other riders had gone to other rivaling big clubs for figures like 5,000 and stuff. So I was kind of the first one just sort of like setting out the marker, and some of them riders aren't even riding anymore, but it's not all about the money. It's all about the enjoyment and getting to where you can, however you can.
So what would you consider your first real club to be? Because you had quite a few rides for Glasgow, didn't you? In that, was it 2005 kind of era?
Yeah, I was at Swindon the day after my 15th birthday. That was a Conference League match at Buxton, which I won my first race. So that was good in Heat 2. So Swindon was that. Was Mildenhall, Glasgow. It was the first one for when I was in the Premier League with Glasgow. We won the treble with Mildenhall in the Conference League when I was 15, so that was an absolute joy to have that. Honestly, I've had that many clubs here, and it's hard to know which one is actually. They've all been brilliant in their own right.
But then I suppose Rye House, that era, you had a couple of years there, didn't you? And you won the what is now the Championship League title in a team that had, riders like a young Tai Woffinden alongside you as well. So that was like a solid team round then, wasn't it? That Rye House Rockets team of that era.
It was a brilliant team. Me and Tai started at reserve, and everywhere we went, we just got a 5-1 home or away, and it was a good way to start the team's chances of the league title off. And he progressed up the team. I think we all finished on around about a 7-point average from like 1 to 7, so it was a really strong team. And it was just of that era. It was just how it happened to play out, and it was a great team. We had Chris Neath leading from the front. Tommy Allen, he was brilliant. Stefan Egberg, Steve Boxall, Luke Bowen, all riders that perhaps don't really ride much anymore. But yeah, at the time it was a superb team to be involved in, and it all started off from Len Silver taking us away skiing before the season. I think it just gelled us all really, really well, and we were able to just take that into the season, just enjoy the racing. None of us really got downhearted if we'd had a bad ride, because one of the other teammates would have picked us up, and we all just wanted to win, not only for ourselves but for the whole team, and I think that's what really took us through right till the end to get the title.
Yeah, I remember seeing Rye House with Tai, and probably I imagine yourself maybe riding as well at Sheffield, I think, and around then, and it was just night and day from some of the other teams that have been there. I think Sheffield always have this strong advantage, and I remember them having a tough night that night. And it was, the Sheffield natives can get a bit restless when things aren't going 100% their way. But I think at the time there was a bit of a fuss about Tai Woffinden, because Tai had obviously started his career at Sheffield, and that connection with Neil Machin and everything, and the Sheffield fans kind of knew what to expect, and then he turned up and delivered in the way that he did, and it was like, but yeah, he rode the one meeting for Sheffield, didn't he? I think it was his first ever professional meeting as such, and that's the only time he rode, because he felt it was a bit awkward with Machin and all, so he went off to Rye House.
Yeah, I think that's, he it was always interesting anywhere that Rye House went as a team, because Rye House was so slick, like as in no dirt on the track, and yeah, just like wasn't you actually didn't even get a blue groove, just slick the whole time. Anywhere we travelled to away from home was always like a ploughed field, and it was to try and like turn us over. So we went to Exeter or something. It would just be like just horrific to get around. Same as Sheffield, they put a ton of dirt on it. Or I say a ton per square yard, because it was just so hard to get around. But we eventually battled through that, and we started winning races away from home against the clubs that were expecting to do us over. And I think that's the whole, like with Woofy, he learned his trade really well, coming over riding the slicks of Rye House, and then like Sheffield, for example, he grew up on that sort of track back in Australia, and when he first came over here, so he wasn't daunted by it. So yeah, and when you go out and see your teammates going out and pulling out race wins like Tai did or Chris Neath did, then it really spurs you on to do the same. And I think that's really important in a team, to have people who lead from the front, and it sort of like drags the others along with them.
Adam Roynon, our guest on Humans of Speedway. Still lots to come. And Adam there talking about riding alongside Tai Woffinden in that Rye House team in his younger days. And Adam and Tai were both equally highly rated as they were coming through the younger ranks of British Speedway. And obviously the two riders have had very different careers. One of the key reasons for that is injury in Adam's case, and how bad luck really has sent the two riders in different directions. We'll talk more about some of those catastrophic injuries that Adam has had through the course of his career in just a couple of moments here on Humans of Speedway. Welcome back to Humans of Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan. My guest in this episode is Adam Roynon. Now, before we continue, don't forget to give this podcast a like or a subscribe, or give us a review, because that helps other people find it, and feel free to share it with your friends as well. And if you're new to Humans of Speedway, well, the good news is there's about 2 years worth of previous podcasts to go back through. So listen to some of the old ones as well. But right now, in the present of 2023, with Adam Roynon, who this year will be lining up for the Poole Pirates, but he's also ridden in the past for the likes of the Coventry Bees, the Sheffield Tigers, and the Scunthorpe Scorpions, Redcar Bears, and a few others as well. Now, Adam, people will think of you sometimes as being an unlucky rider, but actually I think quite the opposite. I think that you must be one of the luckiest riders, because some of the injuries and the circumstances that you've come back from are quite phenomenal, and you've defied the odds, you've defied doctors' expectations at times as well. And I know you're quite philosophical about the path that this has sent you on, but just to sort of talk about one or two of those incidents, like, for example, the training crash at King's Lynn. You know, this was a training meeting. It wasn't an actual speedway meeting, a league meeting or anything like that, and you just had some bad luck on the day. It was the way your cards were dealt, a problem with a bike, and, you know, that could have happened to anybody that day, but it happened to you, and frankly, it put you on the brink of death's door, didn't it? And you came back from that and amazed doctors.
Yeah, just circumstances, the way it evolves, it falls for you. Everyone has a path in life. It's just which path you choose to go down. And some things that have happened to me are out of my control. But like you say, Ian, it always could have been a lot worse. So even though, yes, I've broken my femur and my leg was facing the other way and my ankle was kind of behind me, that could have snapped the main artery in my leg, and I could have bled to death, but I didn't. So therefore, you have a pin down it, and you carry on riding the same year. And breaking your back twice, yeah, that's, people don't often do that once, let alone twice. But then I carried on riding afterwards, and just trying to mentally get through. Not because I'm stupid and I'm an idiot. I just love the sport and racing so much that I just thought I was winded, because I've had so many injuries that I've kind of built up a bit of a tolerance towards pain. So that's not ever a good thing, but it helps for instances like that. yeah, the training accident for Great Britain at Kings Lynn, it was just one of them situations. It could have happened to where it happened to me, but it could have happened to other people. So, yeah, I was very fortunate that I was able to be still a part of this world and continue on, because it could have been so very different. I know that they called my mum, who was up in Cumbria, and said, look, you need to get down to the hospital now, because he's got 50-50 chance if he'll make it the night. So when them things to me doesn't matter to me, because I'm here now, so it doesn't really, I don't dwell on that too much. But I imagine for someone else, like a parent, that would be quite a horrendous thing to be listening to. And yeah, just everything happens for a reason. I believe that good things happen to good people. So yes, I have had the unluckiest run in Speedway, but it always could have been worse. I'm still going. People break their arm once and then think, oh, this isn't for me, and gone. I've broken my left arm 3 times, my right arm twice, my collarbone 3 times. It's just one of these things that just it builds you a mental strength that you're able to sort of control and deal with anything within life. So this part of Speedway, or sorry, that part of Speedway has really opened my eyes to the outside world and what actually can go on. So I feel like I can face anything, and yeah, just still enjoying what I'm doing. And I don't. If any of these incidences would have been my fault, and I'm putting myself in hospital each time, then I would have packed it in for my own safety. But it's never really been my own fault. So therefore, I continue to keep going and think it always could be worse.
Speedway is a sport that, you know, you are going to get injured, frankly, at some point. But for the things that you've experienced, you know, the very worst ones, broken backs, broken necks, being in a coma and all this kind of stuff, how does that affect you as a rider going out on the track once you are back fit again and lining up in a competitive race? Does it affect how you ride? Does it affect your sort of mental concentration or the way that you deal with a race at all in any way? Are you riding safer as a result and trying not to get involved in these kind of incidents?
It's hard to say, because once you've got that helmet on and you're in the race mode, you don't think of any of them things really. You're just going for it to get yourself the win, or to pass the guy in front of you, or just to hold on to the lead, or just whatever it may be. But I suppose subconsciously you are thinking of those things. And I studied psychology at A level, which really gave me a lot more food for thought as regards of what I should be doing to be able to help myself in these situations. Like just being more alert, more aware. Watch how the track's changing. Watch how other riders are just being chaotic and being lunatics. So I've learned an awful lot through Speedway that's helped me, like I said, just for the rest of life. It could have been so much different, and it could have been so much better as well. But I'm just still happy to be doing what I'm doing at this stage, and anything I can give back to the sport, what it's given to me, I'm well happy to be doing.
And you are still doing it in 2023, as we know. You've had quite a few clubs in your time, and there's various reasons for that. And sometimes that's your average not fitting, you know, maybe too successful. And then there's the times, of course, where you want to make a decision of where you want to be based on your career, and maybe sometimes, of course, injury gets in the way and forces you to have to find a new place to ride once you've come back fitter again. You did have another big crash, didn't you, at the end of the sort of the 20-teens, the 2018. Then by the time you'd come back, the COVID situation happened.
Yeah, a few clubs, and it's been good all the way through. Like I don't ever want to keep moving from club to club. It's just the way that averages fall, and the way that you might go well at one track, particularly that season, and you think, oh, he'll do a good job here for us. So yeah, it's just how it happens. And it was kind of good that COVID happened, really, because I did end up with quite a serious injury in 2018 where my throttle jammed open, down around Isle of Wight, and you're entering the corners like sort of 70 mile an hour around there, and my throttle stuck wide open entering the first bend, but Alfie Bortel was in front of me, and what you should do in them situations is just get off the bike, like, and just get rid and let it do its thing, and sort of keep yourself safe. But I knew if I just jumped off the bike or let it do its thing, then Alfie would have been hurt as well. So I sacrificed myself to avoid like hurting him, which was like a brave thing for me to do. But it also meant that I was luckily enough like 13 hours away from the time frame as what an arm can be broken for, from having it like amputated, because it passed the point of the bone healing. But I was fortunate enough to know the right people in the right areas, because when you're on the Isle of Wight and they say to you, look, we've got no one on this island that can repair your arm, and I was like, oh, okay. And they said, we can't give you any painkillers because you're not we can't admit you to the hospital or to the ward or anything, so all we can do is send you back to the mainland and go and find yourself a hospital. So them things, you're just like, oh Christ, I've got a broken arm here. It's broken in 26 places, but I've now got to go and find myself someone that can fix this. So I just headed straight back up the motorway, and then went to my chiropractor actually. And I say he was a bit shocked and a bit flabbergasted. He was like, why are you here? Why are you not in hospital? And I said, because I need to come to you, because hopefully you could point me in the direction of where I need to go to have this operated on. So I went then to Coventry Hospital. They said they didn't have any appointments until the following Tuesday, something, which was 4 days time. And I just took it as, oh, okay, no problem. So I called him, told him about it, and then at 2:30 in the morning, I had a call from the hospital telling me to be in at 6:30 because they've got an emergency operation booked in for me to have me rescued and save my arm. And if it wasn't for the people that I knew and went to, then I'd have been long gone out of the sport and armless. So it was it's just the way that life works. And if I didn't have these accesses to people that have this knowledge, then I would be a lot worse off than I am now.
Jeez, yeah, that's incredible. But you're also pretty good with your own body now. You know, you've had so much happen to it. You've invested in various medical gear at times to help give yourself a better chance at recovery. You're a bit of a dab hand at various medical techniques to sort of treat yourself in some respects rather than bother the local GP. And you know, you've I suppose you've had so much happen to you that you have sort of become a bit of an amateur doctor based on your own conditions and the things that you know work for you.
Yeah, a health weirdo.
That's one way of putting it.
It's only weird if you make it weird, but it's not. It's off the beaten path of what normal people do. But I just figure, like, everyone, it can help everyone in life to have the right sort of like body layout, format, the way that your body wants to be tread and positioning and all things like that. It all can help everyone. So I'm not only just learning for myself, I'm helping other people that with the knowledge that I've gained. So yeah, it's just something for also after Speedway, because Speedway doesn't last forever.
No, it certainly doesn't. But hopefully it'll last a little bit longer yet. What would be your your stories that you dine out on? The good moments in Speedway for you that you look back on, your sort of proud moments as such.
There's been a lot. I mean, finishing a season uninjured, that's quite up there. That's
congrats.
yeah. It's happened twice. Winning the Premier League Best Pairs with Rennie back at Somerset just the day before Cardiff. That was a hell of a thing, because it was a good lineup back in them days, and it was planned. I came in as a replacement, but as I was number three in the averages, but they could pick one of the first one had to be there, and then the second or third had to be there. So it was always planned that Richard Lawson would be there. But Richard said, "Look, I'm not feeling the best right now, like on good form. So I want you to race instead of it." So I knew like a month before that I would have been racing it, but it wasn't until the day that they announced it and things. So yeah, a lot goes on behind the scenes, but I suppose winning the best pairs, that was good, because then you go to Cardiff and you have a good night out and yeah, things like that. The highlight of Speedway is just meeting all the different people and things and all the different avenues that people go down and just enjoying the buzz of racing. It's like nothing else. The adrenaline that you get from going flat out at the start and just racing to that first corner and then getting into the front, that feel good factor that it gives you is like nothing else I've ever experienced. So that's what just keeps bringing me back and itching to get more of it.
Adam Roynon, our guest on Humans of Speedway. And next, we're going to discover how Adam's dream Speedway meeting might go. What will be his ideal track, the stadium, who'd be in his all-time 1 to 7. These are just some of the questions we'll be asking Adam in the next part of Humans of Speedway. You're listening to Humans of Speedway. I'm Ian Brannan, and our guest in this episode is Adam Roynon. Now, Adam has a lifetime of experience in Speedway, frankly, and he's known Speedway since he can very first remember. But how would his dream Speedway meeting look? Now, this is a feature that we do in every episode of Humans of Speedway, or certainly 99% of them, where we ask our guests to create their dream Speedway meeting. And the questions are as follows. Which track would you choose for the racing? Which stadium would you put that track in? Who'd be in your all-time 1 to 7? Who'd be the referee? Which one rule would you change? And who would be the opposition? Those are the questions. And now we turn the attention to Adam Roynon. I don't know many people more knowledgeable about Speedway than Adam Roynon, and let's see where this takes us, because I think it'll be good. Adam, now over to you. So if you're picking a track purely for the racing, which would it be?
So I've never rode it, but I've been to it and seen many video footages of it, and it would be Bradford for me.
Yes. Now you're talking. Come on. I mean, Bradford is the club that I grew up going to see as a youngster, and probably spoiled really watching Speedway week in week out there.
Lucky bugger.
I know, and you didn't realise how good it was, and I wish we could go back there and see it again now, because it was incredible. And those who know, but if you never saw Bradford, well, tell you.
Yeah, and the way that the riders would just sort of like hurtle into the corners and then just rail around the outside and come out maybe 4 or 5 bike lengths in the front, coming out of the fourth turn or something. It was just an awesome track. I know that Javi often tells me stories about riding around there. You watch Joe Screen and things. It's just a brilliant shape, a good racing surface, and yeah, it just looked a phenomenal track. It was. It's a shame that it's obviously it's going now, but it was a shame that we can't ride it as what it was back in the day, because it looked a joy to ride.
Well, Javi used to saw his handlebars down, didn't he? He had like narrow handlebars so he could get even close to the fence.
Yeah, that's right. And then just sort of just took his elbows in and just rally across the tops of the fence. Yeah, it was. The videos I've seen of him around there is superb, and yeah, just a brilliant shape. And I know that some tracks have tried to sort of like mould themselves off that, but they've never come anywhere close to it. But yeah, that would be my track where I'd want a race meeting to be at.
And if you want to find out more about Bradford, we've got a couple of previous Bradford episodes. We've got Kelvin Tatum, also got Gary Havelock himself as well, talking about his times there. So listen back to some of those previous episodes for times of Bradford. So the Bradford track, I mean, in its day, Odsal was one of the places to be a long time ago. But which stadium would you put the Bradford track in, Adam? Let's assume it's a good turnout. It's going to be full.
It would be jam packed. It would be a sellout. Wembley.
Wembley, the old Wembley. Oh, you see the Bradford track in Wembley. Will be good,
Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine. I know it's obviously a bit smaller or whatever, the track, but just to have it fit in like that with obviously the pits would have to be different and all that crap, but just have the atmosphere. I often watch the Bruce Pennell 81 World Final. There's 2 clips of him against Ollie Olsen and Tommy Knudsen.
Yes.
And the atmosphere is just electric, and if that doesn't get the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up, then nothing will. And I just imagine if that sort of racetrack creating that sort of action in a stadium like that with the attendance like that, it would just be like nothing else. Oh, it's only a dream, but it'd be a good.
I think there'll be a lot of people like to see that. So let's look at some riders then. If you're going to put together your all-time 1 to 7, who's going in the Team Roynon?
So I would go number 1, Bruce Pennell.
Yes, Bruce Pennell.
Just an amazing guy. I was fortunate enough to meet him back in 2016 when me and James Sargent went to America racing. We stayed with Brock Nichols' family, but they managed to get us to meet up with Bruce, and it was an absolute honour. James didn't really have a clue really who he really was, and I was just starstruck. So that was a great moment for me. And then at number 2, I'd have Danny King.
Yes. Now you were his right hand spanner man season before last.
Yep. He's been one of my best friends in Speedway for a long time. I just like the way he conducts himself, the way he has a never say die attitude, always gives 100%. He's very thorough in how he does everything in life, whether it's hoovering or racing a speedway bike. He's just, he's a brilliant person. So I'd have him at number 2. At number 3, no surprise, I'd have Gary Havelock.
Avi. That one answers itself, I think.
That answers itself. At number 4, my all-time favourite rider, Yari Campbell, just because he's had a few injuries. That's not something I should go to straight away, but he's had a few injuries, come back, still managed to finish 2nd and 3rd in the world on separate occasions. And I just liked his style, and I'm also fortunate enough to meet him in Poland as well. We were in an office in a club office in Ostrov. After they just done a meeting, and I was ready to sign some paperwork for the next year, and then there was Chris Harris was in there, and I came in and sat on the table, and then Yarrick came in and he sat on the table, and Bomber knew that on my screensaver on my phone I had a picture of Yarrick on there, and Chris thought it'd be funny to try and take the mick out of me, the fact that I had Yarrick as a picture on my screen. So he said, "Oh, Yarrick," he said, "have a look at Adam's phone and see what he's got on his screen." So I showed him it, and he thought it was amazing. So it actually doubly backfired on Bomber, and Yarrick passed me his number, and then I got injured a few years after that, but he messaged me to say best wishes and I hope I recover well and things. So that was a little win for me there.
Nice. They say never meet your idols, but that's not always the case.
And then at number 5, I'd have Chris Harris, because he's just brilliant.
Bomber.
He's superb. He's just that true British bulldog attitude, and the way that every race is like a world final to him. He just gives it everything he's got. He's just so entertaining to watch. You always know if he's at the back, something will be happening. And when we were commentating for BSN, and he had 2 poor rides in the riders' final at the end of the season, you just think this is just not like Chris Harris. And then he comes out and nearly wins 3 in a row, just because it's not him; it's his machinery. So to have someone like that in your squad, that it would be just worth its admission money alone, and it'd bang you loads of points in as well. So that'd be
And as we saw on BSN, he's in this last season, he seems to have learnt how to gate as well. But we all think back to Bomber and that time it was at Poole, wasn't it, where he got up off the deck and ran back to the pits, having been run over, and he was good to go straight away.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that. Just that little sprint back to the pits. Yeah, that's just classic Bomber. He's he's a superb human being, and he would be in my team for sure.
Good. So that's 5. You've got a couple left.
So number 6, I want strength in depth. Is what I want. So I'm going number 6. I'm going Greg Hancock.
It's not a bad reserve.
And then number 7, Darcy Ward.
Wow. Well, if you're going for strength in depth, that's it.
If any of the top 5 aren't having a good meeting for any reason, one of these guys can come in and take over and just tear it up.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong lineup, I have to say there.
Thanks. Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a good lineup. It's got a bit of everything in there. It's got the style. It's got is he going to do that? Is he not? Even though you know he's going to. You know that you're guaranteed action in every race, which it's not always about winning the meeting. It's about entertaining the fans that turn up to watch the action. So I feel like that sort of team gives everything. I've known so many people in the sport. I could have picked 20 riders to be in this team. So I hope it's a squad system and I can put a few more in it. But that's the 7 I could come up with. For this.
It's a good lineup. So we're going to need a referee. Who would be your referee of choice?
I think he's the fairest and most honest referee, and he has a laugh and a joke with a serious joke with the guys in the pits before meetings. He's not stuck up his own backside, and so that would be for me Chris Durno. I'd have him as the ref. I think he's a really good referee. And
a former guest on this podcast. If you want to find out more about Chris Durno and who would be in his lineup, then scroll back through the previous episodes.
Well, it's not me.
If you're going to change a rule of the fabulous rulebook of British Speedway, what would be that one thing from your point of view as a rider? What would you change about the sport?
So I wouldn't exactly change anything because the rules are there for a reason. I'd just add to it, and I'd make mandatory for a 2-minute clock to be on every centre green just in front of the start line, so riders knew when that's getting down to 0, you have to be under starters' orders and be ready at the tapes. Because I've had it a few times last year where you've had a restart. You haven't gone back to the pits or anything. You've just gone back to the start line, and the start marshal's he's calling you in after like 20 seconds. So you've got no time to prepare your rut. And on this occasion, the start got restarted again. So I was there for my 3rd time, and it was at Iwade, and my starting ruts had got that deep that there was 4 ruts across gate 1 that were too deep for me to get in. And we needed some points from this race to have any sort of chances of getting anything from the meeting. And I just bottomed out because the start marshal didn't allow us enough time. He didn't so when the 2 minutes start, that's got to expire. It's not just when he feels he's ready. It's got to be when the rider's ready or when the time is at least expired. I know it's a long time for the fans and people might get bored, but it's our livelihood, our job at the end of the day. So if we're not given the right amount of time to be able to prepare for these things, then I think that's a bit unfair. Like all the Polish leagues and all the tracks, they all have 2-minute clocks on the centre green too. It just adds a different element to it. So riders are ready by the countdown ends, and so that's the only thing I would change, just because I've been on the wrong end of it a couple of times last year. So that's one thing I'd do, just to stop these power hungry start marshals dictating to us when they feel they're ready. We have to be ready.
It's just that old thing about consistency, isn't it? You know, the same rules are applied in the same way across the board, and maybe transponders will help with that, but I don't know, we'll wait and see.
That's it. Yeah, just having the same rule, and it doesn't cost an awful lot of money to be able to put a 2-minute clock on a centre green, and yeah, it also, there's more streaming service happening in at different clubs now, so it'd just be a different thing for the cameras to look at, and people would know when like they're becoming under starters orders. It'd also help us as commentators out to know when they're kind of getting down to 0 seconds, that we know they're going to be under orders, because they can just be pulled in straight away, and we've not even managed to reveal the lineup on the start, and they're already at the tapes, revving their engines, and they're away to go. So I feel that would just be an added sort of help to the sport, because like I say, it is in other countries, it's just not in ours, which is a bit disappointing, but one day hopefully it'll happen.
Well, it sounds like a terrific event, this, but we do need an opposition to round this off. Now, the opposition will be an actual team that did exist at some point of any time in history, up to you. But who would be your all-time opposition?
So I'd go for the Coventry Bees team that finished the season in 2005.
Right, okay.
And can you name any of the riders? 2005.
Would Scott Nicholls be one?
He is one. Think of another Coventry legend that would be... They're still riding now, and they were teammates for a Premiership title last year.
Coventry 2005.
He's also. I don't know if this would work, because he's also in
Chris Harris.
Well done. Yeah.
Right. Stuart Robson.
Nope, that's a bit before. I was just thinking for the strength that the team had, that could actually be a match for my team. That was all.
Have you got the full lineup then? You remember them?
I haven't got the full lineup. I just remember off the top of my head. So there was Sebastian Ulamek, Jonas Kilmacorpy, Billy Gennaro, maybe.
Chris Harris, Billy Gennaro, Jonas Kilmacorpy, Scott Nicholls, Morten Rosea and Martin Smolinski.
Good team, that.
Yeah, pretty strong lineup, and certainly did the job that year, didn't it?
It did do the job. I remember that's when I kind of first joined Coventry as an asset, and yeah, just to go and see riders like that in the pits, and it was sort of give you a real incentive to try and push on and emulate what they're doing.
A great dream meeting. I'm sure you wouldn't have any problem flogging tickets for that with that lineup. It'd be pretty good. Thanks for joining us, Adam, and talking about your times, and hopefully 2023 is another good one for you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to Ian, and to talk about Speedway, it's just an honour and a privilege. So thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks very much to Adam Roynon, my guest on this episode of Humans of Speedway. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And don't forget, if you want to not miss out on any future episodes, like or subscribe or whatever you have to do on your app of choice, so you get the latest one delivered straight to you as soon as it arrives. And check out some of the previous episodes as well. There's loads to go at. There's almost 2 years in our back catalogue. Riders including Jeremy Doncaster, Gary Havelock, Kelvin Tatum, Chris Morton, and many more besides on Humans of Speedway. And we'll catch you next time on the next episode of Humans of Speedway, which hopefully will be along very, very soon.
Sports Social Podcast Network.